is all about. Just to remind you, in MVC, the idea is to take the app and divide it into three main units or parts. The view to provide the user interface for the user, the controller to handle the events, and the model to do the actual computation. So in this session, what I want to really do, I want to show you a simple MVC example using JavaFX. I explain it quickly, and then we jump and do it together from scratch. So this way, everybody understands it because this is the base. If you understand this simple example we will go through, then the rest will be very easy to go to really understand and benefits from. Okay, so first I just want to tell you one more thing. I provided so many examples. We will go through some of them next week. But just for you, those of you who are curious and want to really get started in a deep way, in every package you will find one of the apps, one of the files it has the name app in the file name. That's the one you should run if you want to try that example. For example, if I go to here, let's say tip calculator, and I want to run, which file should I run? The one that have the app, tip calculator app. Yeah, and you can get it. Now there is another, there are many, here it is. There is another one here, for example. Which one should I run? The one that has the app. So all the examples, I made sure the main one that runs the application has the name app in the class name. Okay, so before we dive into the more advanced examples, let's look at the simplest possible example we can think of, which is this get time example. Here it is. So today what I want to do, I want to really put the hat of you as a student getting introduced to this JavaFX and how to go about learning about it. Of course, you go through the slides, you have attended, you have some idea about it, but you really need to do it yourself, and preferably from scratch, like a project, blank projects, and you start step by step. So that's exactly what I want to do in this session. So first, I will run the example, make sense of it, see even how it is implemented, and then replicate that ourselves. So here it is. Which file should I run? The app file. So just go ahead and run it. Very simple app. You can see here it has one window, and this window has a label and a button. And when I click the button, I get the current date and time. That's what the app is all about. Okay. So how many UI components or user interface components I have in this window? Two. I have a label and a button. Okay. And the logic is very simple. So behind this user interface, what do I have behind it associated with this user interface? I have a controller. Thank you very much. What is the role of the controller? Listens to events and handle events. Which events will be raised by this window? The button clicked. When the button is clicked, what the controller is supposed to do? Yes, go and ask the model. In this case, what we will be asking the model to do? Give us the current date and time, and then the model will go and do its work, gives us the results, and then what the controller will do with the results? Pass it to the view to show it on the screen. That's it. That's the idea. This is true for a simple application as this, or it could be as complicated as the ones we will see as we move forward. Okay. So that's why the way I organized it, I have here the view. This is the view. This is the FXML. Say no problem. This is a bit scary. We don't need to deal with it. We deal with our nice scene builder. So in the scene builder, you can see here this UI has a VBox. What do we use the VBox for? The VBox is basically a layout where we will place our components. And inside the VBox we have a label and we have a button. Okay. Now, VBox is just for layout. Let's ignore it. Let's focus on the label and the button. So when I drag this label and button, there are very important things I want you to pay attention to. The first thing is I go to this properties window and give a button, give this label some text, because I don't know what to put. I put a question mark now. You can put whatever. I didn't want to keep it empty, because if I keep it empty, I don't see that there is a label. So I just put something in there. But more importantly, because this label will be accessed from the program, I must name it. I must give it a name. Where do I put this name of this component, of this UI component? I go to code, and there is an attribute here called FXID. And there I put the name of the label. Very important. Now I take a meaningful name. In this case, it will display time. And what type of component it is? It is a label. So I put the name plus the type of the controller, of the component, the type of the component. Okay, that's it. Now, ignore these other properties. Later, you can explore them. For now, all you need to do for label, because all we care about, we put the text to show to the user initially when we load the form. And the second is to name it, to name the label, because we will be accessing it through the program. Okay? Now, what about the button? Same thing. We put the text. This is the text the user will see. Do we need to name it? No need to name it, just because of the time I'm going fast here. No need to name it, because we will not access it through the program. What we will do instead to it, we will listen to an event coming from it and handle that event. So we don't need to name it. But instead, we go to the code section of the properties. We don't need to give it a name, but instead what we give it? We give it an event handler. We'll say, okay, on action, on action means when the button is clicked. This is the method I want you to call. What is the name of the method? Handle get time. This is a good naming convention, because the event handler is a method, so it must start with a verb. So handle is a good verb, and then you put the purpose of that handling. The purpose of the handling in this case is to do what? To get the time. So I call it a get time. That's it. I don't need to name anything else, because I don't need to access them from the program. Finally, there is associated with the whole view, there's something here called controller. Yeah? So every view has an associated controller to handle the events. Now what I do here, I come to this controller class property, and I put there the name of the class, the name of the Java class that will be associated with this view to be able to handle my events. Yes, to be able to handle my events. Okay. So what is the name of this class in my case? The name of the class is controller. And what is this doing here? That's the package name. So in another way to say it, the class name must be the full class name, including the package name. Otherwise, it will not work. So make sure you put the full class name, the full package name. Okay. And here, this is just reminding us. Oh, by the way, in this form, you have only one component you care about that you will access programmatically, and this component is the label. And what name did we give it? Time label. Okay. Unfortunately, I wish they also show the event handler names, but it's fine. I mean, there is an event handler here. But luckily, remember, if you start with usually when we start this MVC, one way to do it is to start from the view. So we go and design the view, and then this Sim Builder have a very nice feature. If you go to view and then go to this option here, show sample controller skeleton, it will show you what the controller will look like. And in fact, you will copy this code and use it as the start of your controller. So this controller class, what it defines? It defines two things. It defines a property, and the property is just saying there is a label, and the name of the label is time label. And there is an event handler, and the name of the event handler is handle get time. Okay. Now, what we do is on top of this attributes and on top of this method, we add this annotation at fxml. This is just some kind of trick to allow JavaFX to link this attribute with the actual label on the user interface, and to link this method with the event handler on the user interface. So basically, you can think of it, this is the UI, it gives us the visual view, and there is the controller, it gives us the programmatic view, where we will go and put our event handling code. Okay, so if we go to the controller, you would be surprised. It is a copy-paste of what I just showed you. So the controller has a label and has an event handler. And all I do, I ignore other stuff. All I do, I go to the event handler and put my event handling code. In this case, what is the event handling? What it's supposed to do? Go to the model and ask for the time. You notice here in the controller, I didn't implement get time myself. I delegated to the model to do the work. Get the results, and what do I do with the results? Pass it to the view. How do I pass it to the view? By going to the label and say set text, and then I put the text in there. Okay? Is clear? So that's why I named this UI element, because I am going to access it from the event handler. But I didn't name the button because it's just a waste of time. I'm not going to name it because I'm not going to access it programmatically. Now, what is left now is to show you the model. The model is very simple. It's just a method. It uses this local date time class. It gives us the current time. And then I format it using this date time formatter. These are new classes in Java 8 and above. So please make use of them, not the old classes. So always use local date and time and the date time formatter. This is very nice. In 2 lines, you get the current date and time, formatted in a day, followed by month, followed by year, followed by hour, minutes, seconds, and A stands for AM or PM. Okay? Now, what is left is to create our little app. This is the launching, to launch the application. Now, this code is exactly the same whatever other application you will do. Let me just put this one down here. So what this one does, so instead of creating the UI programmatically by using something like, remember last time we did programmatically create the UI by doing something like create an instance of a VBox, then create a label, a button, configure the button, and then put them all in the VBox, put them in the scene, and put the scene in the stage and show the stage. I can do this programmatically, but there is a better way. You can use Scene Builder to create the graphical interface. Now, once you create it, you need to load it so you can show it on the stage. How to load it? You just use this class here, fxml loader, and you tell it, oh, please go ahead and load for me this view.xml. This is the view that we have created from using Scene Builder. And then take that object that is returned by the load method, put it in a scene, and put the scene in the stage and show the stage. Yeah? Now, this code is exactly the same, even for more advanced scenario, like let's say, if I go here and show you the table, and I go to the app, exactly the same code. What is the difference? Just the name of the file that I will be loading, the name of the XML file I'll be loading. This code is exactly the same, so all it does, it loads the fxml file into a stage, so into a scene, and then launch the application. That's what this code is all about. You can copy paste it and use it in any app. It will just work. It's not very critical. Okay, it's clear to everyone. Now what we want to do is we want to redo this. Don't trick yourself and say, Khalas, I understood it. It's very clear, super clear. No, you really need to practice it. Do it from scratch yourself. So this is where I feel, I hope I am wrong, some of you are not doing this part, which is problematic, yeah? So even for myself, like before I managed to prepare and understand this JavaFX, because it's even new to me, I never thought it before, I had to do a lot of practice for me to really understand what's going on. Yeah. So there's no other way, even if you are experienced. Okay, so let's go. That's why I have so many examples I went through and built and played with it until I really grasped what is JavaFX is all about. Okay, now let's do it from scratch. Let me close everything. No copying from anything. We will just do it ourselves. All right, here it is. So I'll go to new. I'll create a new Java project. Don't create any fancy project, just simple Java project. That's all you create. Here it is. Simple Java project. I will give it a name as, let's say, time app. Next. In here, very important. I think I'll go to these libraries here and make this project aware of JavaFX. Remember, JavaFX is no longer part of the core Java SDK or the core Java library. They took it outside. So you need to download it and configure it in Eclipse, so Eclipse is aware of it. And that's what the PDF I provided you. You need to go through it so that your project becomes JavaFX. So what you do, you go to this libraries tab. Make sure you are clicking class path. Make sure you are clicking class path. And then go to add library. Go to add library. Choose this user library. Go next. And you should see JavaFX. You will not see this JavaFX unless you go through the steps I already provided you in the PDF file. And then you click finish. And that's it. This is my app, and click finish. Here I'll ask you, so no, I don't need this stuff. Anything not needed, don't create it. Keep it simple. There's nothing in here. It's just a simple project. Has nothing whatsoever. Just plain, blank. Okay? Yes. Okay. So let me delete this. Yes, please. If anything not clear, please stop me, because this part is critical. If you understand it very well and you can do it, the remaining will be very, very smooth. It's just extra features, extra capabilities you will discover. But this is the foundation. So let's do it, no problem. Even if we are late, it doesn't matter, because we have a good foundation from which we can really move forward. Yeah? Okay. New, file new, or right click here and new Java project. Just Java project. Don't do FX project or anything. Just plain Java project. Give it a meaningful name, time app. Next. Don't go super speedy and go to finish. Don't go to finish yet, because we will be using extra libraries beyond what Java core gives us. So I'll go to libraries tab. Yes. Make sure I'm clicking the class path, not the module path. Make sure you are clicking the class path. Then go to add library. Yes. Go to add library. Choose user library. Next. You will see JavaFX in there. Tick it. And then finish. And then finish. It will ask you something else. Say no. Thank you. I don't want to create anything. I want to leave it clear, simple, and not clouded with anything else. Here it is, my source file, my project. It has folder empty, has nothing. Let's now get started. First thing, let's create a package. I will call it CMPS 251 JavaFX, for example. Finish. Yeah. Now, as I explained last time, your user interface, you already designed it in a piece of paper, you discussed it with your friends, you seek some feedback from some people, you're happy with it. Now it's time to design your user interface. That's the first step. Okay, so let's design our user interface. Right click here, new, and then basically you go to others, other. And then go to, under other, go to JavaFX and choose this new fxml document. Okay, go next and give it a name. Now the name here will be maybe, for example, time UI. And then I want to use, what is the root element I want to use? In here I have many layouts I can choose from. I can just keep it simple for now and just use a VBox. Remember the VBox, where the elements are aligned one beneath the other nicely. Okay, that's it. I click finish. This will create this scary fxml file. Say, no, I'm not going to deal with you. It's too scary for me at this stage. I'll go there and right click and say open in scene view. Scene builder, okay? Open it there. Once you open it, you'll get this nice blank design surface that has nothing. It has just the VBox, but the VBox doesn't have any visual part. So what we need, remember our design? What did we have in our design? Label and a button. Because I know what I need, I don't need to go through here and find them. I just search here. Label, here's my label. I can just double click. It appears there. What else I need? A button. Here is my button. Or I can drag it if I wish. It's either way. Yeah. Or I can drag it here. No problem. Either way. Double clicking on it will add it. Dragging it to the design service will add it. Dragging it to this document. This is nice because in here you can precisely drag it where you want it to be. It's up to you how you want to do it. Okay. Now let me just delete this one. Okay. Now this is a little bit squashed, just for me to see them clearly. I can expand it a little bit. And I want to make everything nicely spaced. You see how they are squashed, one beneath the other? So I can change that by going to the VBox and go into layout and do here spacing. Yeah, 10, okay? And because I want them to be nicely positioned, I'll go back to properties and choose here center. Instead of being currently now is top left, I want them to be center. Okay, here it is. Nice. That's it. Don't be tempted and play with this stuff now. No, this is enough. Just play with the spacing and the positioning, and that's it. Because there's a big elephant. You don't want to be kind of lost in there. Focus on what is important. And this will give you a decent, very nice user interface. Khalas, don't waste time on other things. Focus on what is important. Okay, the next step now is to configure this visual in these components. So I'll go to the label and keep it minimal. Yeah, keep it minimal. You see, Google, they have so many engineers and so many smart people, but their search, it's super minimal. Google, that's it. This is the interface. Keep it simple. There is elegance and simplicity. Don't make it too crowded and too much stuff in it. Just keep it super simple. Okay, here is my label. I need to put some text in there. I'm not going to say label. I'm not sure what to put, so I'll just put question mark or maybe the time will be displayed there. The problem, if I don't put anything, it doesn't appear, so I put something. I can change it by code later, just for me to be aware of it. Okay, do I need to name it? Yes, because I'll be accessing it to put the dynamic time in there. So I go to the code section. Where do I put the name? FXID. Very important attributes or very important property of the controls or the UI elements. So I'll go there and give it a name. What could be a good name for this? Time label. Time. What is this? Because this label will hold the time. And what is the type of this component? It is a label. This is the best name in convention. The purpose of the purpose of the component, and what is the type of the component. In code, we won't be confused. Is it a label? Is it a text box? We give it in the name. We put the control or the component type. Yes. Make sure you start with a name because this is a component. It's not a method. Start with a name, not a verb. That's it. We're done with we are done with the label. Now let's go to the button and decide first what we show the user. What do you think we will show? What time? What time is it? Yeah. Or get current time. What time is it is good. This is people are familiar with this question. Now we ask ourselves, in terms of coding, do we need to name it? No, because we are not going to access it programmatically. We are happy with it as it is. We will not configure it or change anything. We'll just, instead, what we will be interested to do with this button is to do what? Is when this button is clicked, we want to run some code. So we will associate this button with an event handler. How do we associate a button with an event handler? We go to this onAction event. OnAction is a very convenient event. We will be using it in 95% in this course, or even in the real world. So this is the most common event in most cases. So we will put our event handler and associate them with onAction event. And what I put in there, the name of the method that will handle the onAction event. Because it is a method, we will start with a verb. And the best verb to start with here is basically handle. And handle what? What is the purpose of this handling? Is to get the time. No need to put button or anything. In my opinion, you just put handle followed by the purpose. What are you trying to do? The objective, the goal of this handling. What is the goal of this handling? Is to get the time. You just say handle get time. Are we done? There's one more step, which is associating. We are still in the user interface design. Sorry. So associating the visual view, or the view, associating it with the controller. So every view has an associated controller. How do we link the two? By going to this controller part of this of a scene builder, and specifying here the name of the class that will be the name of our controller. And remember, the name should be the full name, including the package. So what was our package name? CMPS 251.JavaFX. And what we will call this one? We could call it time controller. Let's call it time controller. Why not? Yes? Okay, this is just reminding us, oh, by the way, you have your view will be associated with this controller, and this controller has an attribute time label, which will be linked with the label in this controller. The Jalas button does not have any name. There's no name here. I wish they added also like showing the event handlers here, but they didn't. But we know that there is an event handler. And now, are we done with the view? We are done with the view. Okay, what we did, we designed the visual look of the view. We kept it simple. And then we went through the components and say, are we going to access you in the code? If yes, we give it a name. Where do we put this name? In the FXID property. Then for the components that will be raising some events to the application, we go to them, not necessarily give them a name, but associate them with an event handler method. And typically, where do we put this event handler method? On action. On action, we link the event handler with the on action event. Okay, and then finally we go to the whole view and associate it with the controller by putting the controller name and the controller class property. Yeah. Now, because developers are busy and lazy, two features I can really witness in them. So we go here to view, and we get here show sample controller skeleton. So we don't want to type the controller from scratch. So Sim Builder already giving us this. Click there, and you get this nice controller there. You just copy paste into your Java code. And this controller already defined one attribute for the time label and one method to handle the get time. Okay, that's it. Here it is. So I'll copy this, or I just click this one here, copy here, go to my Eclipse. By the way, when you come back, you might not see what you have done, so you can just click here and refresh. This will bring you the changes you have done in Sim Builder. Okay. Now, I'll go here, go to new, create a class. What's the name of this class? Time controller, finish. And then what we will do in here, copy paste our skeleton code that the scene builder gave us. And then in here it says, oh, I'm not sure what you're talking about, action events, what do you mean? I don't know what it is. Oh, no problem, we will help the Eclipse to find it. And we want to use the action events belonging to JavaFX event. Please don't use this old libraries. Always choose the ones that start with JavaFX. Okay? That's it. What else do we need to do now? Handle, write some code in here. So we're not going to fall into the trap of putting our code in here to handle this event. We will ask the model to do it for us. So we will create a model class. We can call it whatever we want. So for example, we can call it time model. Why not time model? Okay, and because of the time, I will sneak here quickly and just copy the model. Copy the model over. In your case, don't copy when you are going through this yourself. Okay, I'm just copying because of the time. So I copy this. I'll go to my time model, paste my method here. And this method, as I explained before, is getting the current date and time, formatting it as a string, and returning it. Yep, that's it. I'll go back to my controller and say, oh, let me get some time. Here is the current time, string time equals time model dot get current date and time. And then what do I do with this current date and time? Let the view know about it. How do I get the view? How do I inform the view about this result? Yes, by going to set time label. That's why I named this components, because I'm going to access it through the program, and I'll say here set text. Here is the set text, and then pass the time. That's it. This is my controller is done. What is left now for me to run this app? I need to launch it. I need to put this view in a scene and put the scene in the stage and launch the stage. Show the stage and launch the app. This one I'm not going to, even in practice, I'm not going to bother typing everything. I just copy this standard code here, paste it here. Here's the app. And all I need to do, change the the fxml file. Instead of view, what did we call it? Time UI. Yep. Save and hopefully run. Yes. Okay, so we have our application running. So you see that question mark there. When I click this one, I get the time. Yeah. There's one more thing. Wouldn't it be nice, instead of showing the user this question mark, wouldn't it be nice when we load the first time, we show them the current time, and then if they want to change it or they want to refresh it, they can just press this button. So let's do this. So luckily in the time controller, or in the controller in general, there is a method called initialize. If you put some code in this initialize method, it will be automatically called when the view is loaded and displayed. So let's create a public, let's give it a try. So what I will do, initialize will do exactly the same what handle get time will do. So instead of copy pasting this code, I will just call this method. And because I don't have an event here, just pass a none. Okay. So if I spell this correctly, it must be spelled initialize, otherwise it will not work. Okay, so I'll save, run again. And you can see here the time is set automatically when the view is loaded. So the controller has this special method, very important method called initialize, which is auto-called when the actual view is loaded. Without clicking. This happens when the view is loaded. It gets this method initialize will be called. Yeah, but it has to be called initialize. So if I call it something else and misspell it as I do usually, if I do it like this and run, you will still get the question mark. Okay, it must be called initialize, then you will get exactly what you will get basically the correct behave. Yeah. Okay, I hope it's clear. Please go through this again, do it yourself from scratch to really understand this example, and then the rest will be very smooth, inshallah. Okay, so let me now just summarize what I just did. So here are the steps. Maybe you start with this, the view, create the view using your scene builder. From the view, go and name the components, the UI components that you will be accessing through the user interface. Where do you put the name? In the FX ID. Go to the component that will be raising events, and then associate an event handler with the event. Usually, in 95% of cases, you will put the event handler on the on-action event. Okay? And then, all you do, go to Scene Builder, View, generate the skeleton code. No, before you do this, sorry, go to the controller and set the controller class in there. Put the name of the controller. It's very important. When you put the name, put the full name, including the package. Then go to View, generate the skeleton code, copy that code, go to Eclipse, and create your controller. Once you create your controller, all you need to do, go ahead and implement the event handlers. When you implement the event handlers, any computation you need to do, put it in a separate class. That is your model class. And then the controller will call the model method, get some results, and then pass them to one of the UI components. In our example, we passed it to the label. Then what you do, you add this launch class, standard class. All it does is just goes through, loads the fxml file into the scene and show the stage. Okay, so as you saw here, the controller in the Java class must be assigned to the FX controller attributes in the scene builder. And the controller defines two things. It defines attributes, and these attributes are referencing components in the UI, such as a label in our example. And these attributes must be annotated with this @XML. And the event handlers also must be annotated with the @FXML. And then this event handler name must be associated with the method, with the event, with the actual event. So for example, we had handle get time, we associated with the on action event. Yes? Okay. And this is visually what will be happening. So as I explained, this is my controller. I associate it with the whole UI by setting. No, sorry, this is not the one. So this is my controller. You see here, my controller. No, here it is. This is my controller class. This is the name of my controller class. In the scene builder, I go to the controller class attribute and put there the name of the class. Okay. Now for the label, because I'm accessing it programmatically, I'll go ahead and give it an FX ID. So this way in the controller, I have an attribute with the same name that I gave in the FX ID. For the methods, I'll go to the event and put the event handler name, and this will create a method with the same name that I put in here. Yeah, and then I'll go ahead and do the implementation.
You cannot use the same action name for several components?
You can. Why not? Yeah.
Because when we're calling it, how does it know that which action?
It's just associating. Okay, if you are curious, here it is. It's all. You're not supposed to go there if you don't want to. But for me, I'm not scared of this XML. Everything is specified in here. For example, in here, I have the controller name here. Can you see it? FXML controller there. Also, in here, I have on action. This is the name of the event handler. So I might have another button. By the way, if you are not too scared, You can change it from here. But don't worry about it. I'm not expecting you to confuse yourself here. I can have here another button, no problem. I have another button here. If I save and run, they all do the same. So I can have multiple components or associated with the same event handler, no problem. Yeah? The event handler doesn't care, it's a method. It can be called from button 1 or button 2, it doesn't matter. Yeah? Okay, so here is the summary of this. So in here, as I explained, as I explained, you name the components that you will be accessing programmatically. You associate event handlers with the events that you are going to handle. You associate the controller with the whole UI, with the whole view. And then you go to view, show controller skeleton, and you get your skeleton code, copy paste it to a class in Eclipse, and you have already your controller. Okay, that's it. Inshallah, next session we will look at layouts, how we can to help us basically design our user interface and take care of the positioning and alignment without us positioning elements on the page. Like in this case, remember in here, for example, we didn't worry about positioning the elements. We didn't need to worry about positioning the elements. The VBox does it for us. It puts everything in the middle, and it puts 10 pixels between them. Yeah. So VBox is just one of them. It's a very simple one, but there are many others, very powerful and very useful, and that's what we will be discussing next session.